everybody. One of the things that I found most interesting and most scary when I left my music ed degree from North Texas was that even though I had a fancy piece of paper that said I could teach band, I still really didn't know how to teach band. So what that meant for me was that I had to go find the information about how to become a better band director. This video, I want to share the 3 books that I found most interesting in helping me become a better band director. There are a ton of books out there about teaching band and music education, and if there's a book that you love that I left off the list, please let me know in the comments. Maybe I don't have it, maybe I don't even know about it, and I need to go get it. The first book is On Teaching Band, Notes from Eddie Green. This book is by Dr. Mary Ellen Cabot from Texas State University. What I enjoy about this book is that it goes from start to finish through the middle school experience, talking about pedagogy for each individual instrument, common problems that each instrument has, how you should structure that beginning of the 6th grade year, which can be really confusing and overwhelming, especially for a first-year teacher, who's on their own like I was. I wish this book existed, and I wish I would have had this book when I was doing my first job way out in Jacksboro, Texas, all by myself at a middle school, 6 through 8, teaching every single beginner class. If you are unfamiliar with Mr. Green and his work, he is basically one of the, if not the main reason why Texas bands are the way that they are. This is a book that I give to all of my students who are studying music education or who are thinking about studying music ed. This particular copy has been in the hands of several of my former students who are now teaching band. The second book is The Winds of Change by Frank Battisti. Frank Battisti was the director of bands at the New England Conservatory, and he compiled in this Winds of Change what essentially amounts to the complete history of the American Wind Band. As you can see, I have basically read this book several times. I have it marked up with tabs and post-it notes, and it, to me, tells the complete and incredible story of the American Wind Band. It has information about Sousa and his bands, the instrumentation that he used, example programs from his concert tours. It has information about the Eastman Wind Ensemble and that whole revolution. It also goes on to talk about the revolution that happened in education with the band and how the band has become a staple of American public schools. Interestingly, in the appendices in the back of the book, there are example instrumentations of some of the most premier wind bands in our field. The Winds of Change is absolutely a must-have for any person who wants to be informed about the history and context of the American Wind Band. The third book is really 2 books, depending on where your area of expertise is. For me, as a brass player, I always found my deficiencies in the woodwind world, which means that I needed a book that could help me through all of my woodwind pedagogical issues. For me, this was the book that I received in my Woodwinds Method class. It is the Guide to Teaching Woodwinds, and it is the Westfall book. Even though I wouldn't read this book cover to cover like I did with the other 2, this is certainly an invaluable resource that I call upon regularly when I'm teaching band. This book talks about many of the common repair and maintenance issues that you'll encounter with woodwinds, and believe me, there will be many, especially on bass clarinet. It also talks about how to form the embouchure, how to make some of those beginner sounds, and more importantly, when I'm teaching in the band setting, it talks about some of the tuning tendencies in the various ranges of the instruments. This is a resource that I probably check at least once a month during concert season. If you're a woodwind or percussionist without a lot of expertise in the brass world, I would recommend one of the Philip Farkas books. As a French horn player, I personally have The Art of French Horn Playing, but there's also The Art of Brass Playing. These books are extensive, much like the Westfall book, in how to make the embouchure, how to make quality tone, what are some of the basic maintenance issues, and some of the tuning tendencies on the various partials of the instrument. These 2 books together, the Farkas and the Westfall, would combine to give you most of the pedagogical information you would need to get through teaching beginners or through teaching a concert season, getting those instruments up to par. These 3, really 4 books combine to cover 3 of the different areas that I think every band director needs to have a working knowledge of. The pedagogy of the given wind instruments, a history of the band itself, and a guide on how to start building and teaching your program. For the bonus book, The Winds of Change 2, The New Millennium, is a book that chronicles the first 10 to 15 years of this millennium, of the early 2000s. It's structured similarly to The Winds of Change, talks about many of the commissioning projects that happened in the early part of this century, and is the addition to the first book. Hopefully, these 3 books can become the foundation of your music education library. I know that I've got several dozen books that I found very helpful and useful throughout the past couple of years. These 3, well, 4, I guess technically 5 books, have become invaluable to me throughout the past couple of years. They are books that I regularly call upon, and they're books that I have tabbed and at the ready at all times. Again, if there are books that I forgot, please let me know in the comments, and as always, thanks for watching.